Welcome to this lecture series in linear algebra. In this lecture, we'll prove that every complex endomorphism has an eigenvalue. And let us recall what we need. So we will need some facts about polynomials over fields. There is a set of lectures in this playlist, starting with the name interlude, dedicated to exactly this topic. We need to know that the dimension of the space of all the endomorphisms on a vector space V is the square of the dimension of the original vector space. And we, of course, need to know about eigenvalues and eigenvectors. All right. Here are some problems for practice. And now let us get started. So first, we will discuss some generalities. Basically how we bring in polynomials in the study of linear algebra. This has nothing to do with complex vector spaces specifically. This is a very general thing. So fix a field F and let V be a vector space over F. Fix an endomorphism of V. Then for any polynomial P, so if we have a polynomial Px over the field F, and say the polynomial looks like this. Let me write it in full. Suppose the polynomial looks like that. Then we define an endomorphism on V, which we denote as P of t. So what we are doing is we are given a polynomial. We are creating an endomorphism whose notation is this, as follows. Pt is that thing. So what is going on? In place of x, write t, that's all. And interpret t to the power 0 as identity. So here you get identity, here you get t to the power 1, which is t, then you get t to the power 2, which is t to the power 2, and ultimately you get t to the power n. So for every polynomial, we get an endomorphism on the vector space. So one can package all of this in one line. What we have developed is a map from fx, meaning the set of all polynomials over f, to set of all endomorphisms on V. And this map takes Px to P of t. So, of course, t was fixed, so this map is contingent upon t. Let me give it a name. Let's call this something, maybe phi of t. Phi is abused, so maybe psi of t. Okay, and here is something that we can note, that it behaves well under addition, first of all. So Px plus Qx map to Pt plus Qt. This is an exercise. And it also behaves well under multiplication in the following sense. So Px times Qx maps to Pt composed with Qt. Right? So here, in endomorphisms, there is no such thing as product of two endomorphisms, but we can compose endomorphisms, and this is something that you can verify, that the product of two polynomials, if you apply the map psi t to it, you get the composite of the corresponding things. And from here it is also clear that this is equal to Qt composed with Pt, because Px Qx is same as Qx Px. So once you verify this, this falls out of free. But anyway, that was already not very difficult to prove. So these are some properties for this map psi t. So note that psi t is actually a linear map. If you think of this as a vector space over F, this is an infinite dimensional vector space over F, then this is actually a linear map. Anyway, that is not something that we will need, but just to note it down. Okay. So first, before we get to the main theorem, we will need a fact from algebra. So if we have a polynomial over the complex field which is non-constant, so the degree of P is at least 1, then there is some complex alpha such that alpha is a root of P. So every non-constant polynomial over the field of complex numbers has a root. We will not prove this, we will just use this. Okay, clearly this fails. This statement will fail if we write R in place of C, because if you consider this polynomial over the field of real numbers, it does not have a root. It always takes positive values as when you feed real numbers to it. So it does not have a root in R. It has a root in C, but it does not have a root in R. All right, so this is something that we will need. And the consequence of the previous one is that if Px is a non-constant polynomial, and assume that it is monic, this is just for convenience, then you can find n complex numbers. You can find some finitely many complex numbers such that the corresponding polynomial that you get, so for alpha 1 you have this polynomial, alpha n you have this polynomial, dot dot dot, so you product all of them, that is equal to Px. So you can factorize a polynomial over complex numbers into linear factors, and that's how you can read it. Okay, the monicness is just for convenience. You can easily modify this statement for non-monic polynomials. Okay, so now we get to the main point of this lecture. We want to show that if V is a complex vector space with a dimension at least 1, and of course we are only dealing with finite dimensional vector spaces, then for any endomorphism T on V, it has an eigenvalue. So an endomorphism on a finite dimensional complex vector space with dimension at least 1, of course, we don't want to talk about 0-dimensional vector spaces, they are trivial. So any endomorphism on a complex vector space of dimension at least 1 has an eigenvalue. This is a very interesting statement and non-obvious. Let's start proving it. So consider the endomorphisms identity t square up to t to the power n square, where what is n? N is the dimension of V. Okay, so these are n square plus 1 endomorphisms. The dimension of this vector space is n square because dimension of V is n, and we have considered more than that. This is n square plus 1. So these are linearly dependent in this vector space, and therefore we can find scalars such that the corresponding linear combination vanishes. Okay, so here is the takeaway. I mean, the previous, whatever this argument is, it tells us that, yeah, so here before I mention this, there exist scalars, not all of them are 0. So I should write it because otherwise the statement is not carrying much weight, where not all of are 0. All right. So the takeaway from the previous deduction is that there exist scalars. Yeah, maybe I will write alpha instead of A. There exist scalars, not all 0, such that this endomorphism is 0. Okay, and here we may assume that this guy is non-zero. Why? Because just take the largest among them, which is non-zero, after which everything is 0. So you truncate your list at that point. So we may assume that the last one here is non-zero. In fact, you may assume that the last one there is actually 1, because we may divide both sides of this by alpha m, and we will be ending with 1 in place of alpha m. Make sure you follow that reasoning. So we may assume that alpha m is equal to 1. Okay. Now define px as this polynomial plus alpha mx to the m, but alpha m is 1, so I can just write x to the m. So px is a monic polynomial, and what this says is precisely that p of t is 0. Right? That's exactly what this is. All right. And now by what we discussed in the previous slide, we can write px as the product of linear factors for some beta 1 up to beta m. Right? And since p of t is 0, we have this composite is 0. Let me not write the composite symbol. Right. Okay. And to finish the proof, we claim that. Let me repeat this last line. We have deduced this much. Now we claim that sum is non-invertible. So what are we saying? We are saying that amongst all of these endomorphisms, at least one is non-invertible. So why is that? If all of them were invertible, then this would be invertible. But an invertible endomorphism on a vector space of dimension at least 1 cannot be 0. So that would be a contradiction. And that justifies this claim. But if this is non-invertible, then beta I is an eigenvalue of t. Because we saw this. If this is non-invertible, then its kernel is non-trivial. And hence, beta I is an eigenvalue. So that's the proof. This proves our proposition, and with that I want to end this lecture. As usual, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time.